Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Glam Dunk. My name is Becca, and on Glam Dunk I tell you about the biggest, most memorable moments that sports history has to offer while I do my makeup. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you are curious about what makeup products I am using, I will have them all linked in the description box below. This is the 5th episode of Glam Dunk. If you've not seen episode 1 on the 2001 World Series, episode 2 on the catch, episode 3 on Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, or episode 4 on the 1989 World Series, I will have them all linked in the description box below. Today we are going to be talking about the Miracle on Ice. On February 22nd, 1980, at the Olympic Center in Lake Placid, New York, one of the most iconic moments in Olympic Games history and U.S. sports history took place. The Miracle on Ice was an ice hockey game played between the United States and the Soviet Union national teams during the medal round of the 1980 Winter Olympics. The Soviet Union's team were 4-time defending gold medalists, and they were heavily favored going into this game. They had played an exhibition game against America before the Olympics began, and the Soviets won by a score of 10-3. So coming into this medal game, they were very overconfident and they did not feel challenged in the slightest. They hadn't lost in a long time, and they went into the game thinking it was no big deal. Leading up to the game, everyone had just assumed that the Russians would win, and this nonchalance became psychologically damaging to their team. The night before the game, the Soviet team stayed up all night drinking champagne. They truly did not have a worry in the world about their game the next day. The U.S. team, led by head coach Herb Brooks, consisted mostly of amateur players. Only 4 players had minimal minor league experience. The United States was the youngest team in the tournament, and in U.S. national team history, the average age on the team was only 21 years old. The USSR government was very involved in their national hockey team. Each member of the team had a 25-year contract in their army. In their eyes, if their hockey team loses, then the Olympics is pointless to them. That's how important hockey was in that time in Russia. Now, American citizens had been boycotting Team USA's participation in the 1980 Winter Olympics for a while, and this was due to the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. President Jimmy Carter was considering a boycott as well. Obviously, America and the Soviet Union were natural rivals due to the Cold War, but alas, the American team did participate. Now, I know I mention ESPN 30 for 30s a lot, but I think they are so brilliantly done, and I love watching them myself, and I know you will love them too. So I highly suggest that you watch the 30 for 30 called Of Miracles and Men. It's told from the Soviet perspective, which I found to be super interesting and unique, because all you ever hear about is the American side of this game. It's on Hulu. If you have a subscription, I highly recommend it. So in the 30 for 30, they interview several prominent players that were on the Soviet team, and at one point they talk about how the Soviets, their Olympic Village, which is where the Olympians live when they're not training or playing in the Olympics, it usually has rooms and dining halls, kind of like a college dorm on a college campus. Now, this year, the Soviets' Olympic Village was housed in a literal prison. No, like literally a prison, like a high security prison. So when we go back to the psychological state of the Soviet team and their players, I mean, nobody wants to live in a prison. It's probably kind of hard to focus on hockey when you feel like Al Capone on Alcatraz. So, quick little side note, I'm trying this Cream Shop cushion blush. I mentioned this in my hidden in plain sight drugstore video. I used a different blush in that video instead of this one, so I'm going to try it today. Oh god, it looks scary, but I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to put it on here, on the cushion, and then put it on the back of my hand, and then use a brush. This is, C'est La Peach, I think. Chase Chic. C'est La Peach. It's pretty though. It's actually really nice and glowy. but I wouldn't suggest just taking the cushion and then putting it on your face because it's going to be way too harsh. I just took the cushion, kind of put it on the back of my hand and rubbed it out, blended it out, and then picked it up with my brush so I can blend it in easier. It's pretty, it's just very pigmented and you have to learn how to use a cushion and be very careful. All right, well, back to the prison. So they were already uncomfortable with their living arrangement, and on top of that, the games were being held in America. And so the Soviet Union team, they felt a lot of hostility, and some were scared of being attacked because of all the opposition against them. Another quick side note, I promised I would use the highlighter in this Simpsons Spooktacular palette, face palette. If you have not watched my Simpsons Makeup Revolution First Impressions, go watch that. I'll link it below. But I'm going to use this Maggie highlighter in the shade Cursed. From the second they came out onto their bench, the Soviet team was met with American fans in the stands booing and shouting at them. Plus, there were USA chants the entire 60 minutes of the game. And of course, this fired up the US team. So from the very beginning, they may not have realized it, but the Soviet team, no matter how talented they were, had some factors stacked up against them. It was not the ideal situation for them. Yes, the Soviet Union had won the gold medal in 5 of the 6 previous Winter Olympic Games. Yes, the team consisted mostly of professional players with significant experience in international play, but the mental aspect of sports can sometimes be what gives the team an edge, and in this case, I think the Americans had the mental edge over the Soviets. So on this night, the arena was packed at full capacity with 8,500 people in attendance. In the first period, the U.S. team fell behind early as expected, yet as the final seconds of the first period were winding down, Dave Christian fired a slap shot on Vladislav Tretiak from 100 feet away. I apologize, I'm definitely going to mispronounce a lot of Russian names in this video, just a forewarning. Tretiak saved the shot but misplayed the rebound and allowed Mark Johnson to fire the puck past the diving goalie to score with just 1 second left before the buzzer. This tied the game at 2, ending the first period. After the first period, the Soviet team's head coach Viktor Tikhonov replaced Tretiak with backup goaltender Vladimir Mishkin. Immediately after Johnson's tying goal, this was a move that shocked players on both teams. Tretiak was known at the time as one of the greatest goaltenders in the world. This ended up being a huge miscalculation on Tikhonov's part. It was the turning point of the game, and Tikhonov later called it, quote, the biggest mistake of my career, unquote. Okay, for eyeshadow, I literally just got this in the mail a couple hours ago. This is the Lunar Beauty Moonspell Volume 2 palette. This is Manny MUA's makeup brand. It's his like Halloween inspired palette, witch inspired palette, and this is what it looks like. It's very gorgeous. Really want to use some of these purple ones, like I was looking at Zelda. And what was the other one? Oh, Luna. So I think I'm going to do a purpley look, which is pretty rare for me. But I just wanted to show you my sister has Moonspell 1 from last year's limited edition. You can't get it anymore. But if you wanted to see what it looked like, they both look like books. This is what I don't think he did this last year. I think it might have been the year before. They're very pretty. I'll show you. Sitting next to each other, if I can open it. This one does have more shades, the new one. If I can. So I'm going to use the new one, but I just wanted to show you since I had it what the old one looked like. Alright, so I'm going to use Moonspell Volume 2. I love Lunar Beauty and I love Manny MUA, so I'm very excited to try these shadows. Now, Mishkin did not allow any goals in the second period. The Soviets dominated play in the second period, outshooting the Americans 12-2, but they only scored once on a power play. The second period ended with the Soviet Union leading by a score of 3-2. In the third period, Vladimir Krutov was sent to the penalty box at the 6:47 mark for high sticking. The U.S. had managed only 2 shots on Mishkin in 27 minutes, so they had a rare offensive opportunity in the form of a power play. Mark Johnson fired a shot that went under Mishkin and into the goal at the 8:39 mark as the power play was ending, tying the game at 3. A few seconds later, Mike Erozione, who had just come onto the ice, fired a shot past Mishkin. This goal gave Team USA a 4-3 lead with exactly 10 minutes left in the game. This was the first time the Americans had led in the game. After this goal, as time was winding down, you can kind of see the Soviets panicking a little bit, kind of coming to the realization that they could lose. Everyone was expecting them to pull their goalie and go 6-on-5, but they didn't because their head coach simply did not believe in it. As the U.S. team worked to get the puck over the blue line, the crowd started counting down with the clock out loud. Al Michaels, the sportscaster who you may remember from the last episode of Glam Dunk on the 1989 World Series, he was the one who got cut off once the earthquake hit. He was calling this game on ABC alongside Ken Dreider, who was a former goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens. Michaels began counting down as well and delivered his famous call, quote, 11 seconds, you've got 10 seconds, the countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Silk, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, unquote. I will link a YouTube video in the description box that's like the last minute of this game. You can hear Al Michaels' call in that footage. As Team USA ran all over the ice in celebration, Herb Brooks sprinted back to the locker room and cried. The Soviet team's players stood on the blue line absolutely stunned, watching the Americans celebrate. In the locker room afterwards, U.S. players spontaneously broke into a chorus of God Bless America. Now, the United States did not win the gold medal by defeating the Soviet team. In 1980, the medal round was a round robin, not a single elimination format like it is today, so they had to defeat Finland in order to secure the gold medal. I love this lid shade called Seltzer Sparkle Shade. It's like a pinky purple, but it has blue glitters in it. In the locker room during that game against Finland, Team USA was down, and Herb Brooks told the team, quote, if you lose this game, you'll take it to your effing graves, unquote. He then walked towards the locker room door, okay, looked over his shoulder, all dramatic, and was like, your effing graves. And I guess it worked because Team USA beat Finland by a score of 4-2. After the victory over Finland, which secured them the gold medal, the players received a congratulatory call from President Jimmy Carter. The Soviet team ended up winning the silver medal, and they kind of had their loss to the U.S. shoved in their face again during the medal ceremony, where they were presented with their measly silver medals and the Americans were presented with their shiny gold medals. The Soviet players were so disappointed in their loss that they didn't even turn in their silver medals to have them inscribed with their names. They and the Soviet news media were both just still completely stunned. On the cover of the March 3rd, 1980 issue of Sports Illustrated was a photograph by Heinz Klutmeier of the American players celebrating and waving the American flag. It did not have a caption or a headline because Klutmeier said, quote, it didn't need it. Everyone in America knew what happened, unquote. Team USA was also named the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year, and the victory was also voted the greatest sports moment of the 20th century by Sports Illustrated. In 2004, ESPN declared the Miracle on Ice to be the top sports headline and game of 1979 through 2004, which was ESPN's first 25 years in operation. In 2008, the International Ice Hockey Federation named the Miracle on Ice the best international ice hockey story of the past 100 years. There were so many accolades for the U.S. team due to the result of just one game. Jonathan Hawk, the director of the ESPN 30 for 30, at the very beginning he mentioned that the Soviet team was probably the greatest hockey team of all time, yet all we think about is the fact that they lost. And this is why he decided to do the documentary from the Soviet perspective. In the 1981 Canada Cup, the United States team with 7 players from their 1980 Olympic team again faced the Soviet Union, but the Soviets won the opening round game 4-1. And at the 1982 World Championship, the Americans again faced the Soviets and lost again by a score of 8-4. Of the 20 players on Team USA, 13 eventually went on to play in the NHL. After the Miracle on Ice, the Soviet team did not lose a World Championship game until 1985 and did not lose to the United States again until 1991. Throughout the 1980s, NHL teams continued to draft Soviet players in hopes of having them come over to play here, but the Soviet government prevented this from happening for a while. As I mentioned before, all of their players were signed to 25-year contracts with the Red Army, but in 1989 they started letting more come over to play here. The US and the Soviet Union next met in the Winter Olympics in 1988. The Soviets won the game 7-5 and they won the gold medal, while the US placed 7th. The US and Russia played each other in a round-robin game in the 2014 Winter Olympics. This game has been called by some the marathon on ice due to its length. Both teams failed to win a medal though that year. The US finished 4th and Russia finished 5th. A made-for-TV movie called Miracle on Ice, starring Carl Madden as Herb Brooks and Steve Guttenberg as Jim Craig, aired on ABC in 1981. It incorporated actual game footage and original commentary from the game. A HBO documentary called Do You Believe in Miracles, narrated by Liev Schreiber, aired in 2001. But most famously, in 2004, Walt Disney Pictures released the film Miracle. It stars Kurt Russell as Herb Brooks. Al Michaels recreated his commentary, except for his last famous call at the end of the game. They ended up just using the original broadcast call since filmmakers felt that they could not ask him to recreate the emotion that he felt in that moment. This film was dedicated to Brooks, who died while the film was in pre-production. The Miracle on Ice is the most famous hockey game of all time and one of the biggest moments in sports history and one of the biggest moments in Olympics history. As an American, I want to feel proud of our team, but after watching the 30 for 30, I rewatched it again last night. I know I had seen it years ago, but I rewatched it last night to refresh as research for this episode, and during it, seeing it from the Soviet side, I ended up feeling really bad for their team. Their head coach ran things from more of a statistics point of view. He didn't truly love the game like their previous coach had. They had so much pressure on them from their government. There was the fact that everyone, including themselves, were so adamant that they would win. So that had to take a psychological toll. Their Olympic Village was a straight-up high-security prison. They felt pure hostility from Americans instead of feeling welcome. I mean, things were just not on their side. But was it still a miracle that the US team won? Yes, I absolutely think so. The mental aspect of a game is so important, but when you look at the matchup of the Soviets versus the US, it truly looks like the Monstars versus the Toon Squad. So basically, the Miracle on Ice was like Space Jam. I just got this too with a palette. This is the Lunar Beauty lip gloss in Bitchcraft. I love the name. Of course, Manny makes the best name things. This is hilarious. It's like a really pretty pinky shade. I love Manny's lip glosses. The Lunar Beauty glosses are, and the name of this one, I had to. Bitchcraft. Come on. That's hilarious. Ooh, these smell like heaven. They're so nice and not sticky. I think he has my favorite lip gloss formula in the world. Smells good, feels good, looks good. I love this color. It looks super glittery when you look at it in the tube. I don't know if you can tell. I mean, I put it over a lip liner, but it just looks really shiny. Oh, I love it. What are you wearing on your lips? Bitchcraft? Freaking love it. So, like I said, all the makeup I used will be linked below if you are curious about anything that I used. Please subscribe and follow me on social media. It would help me a lot. Other than that, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Trying to go around the bow without getting foundation on it. Oh, this powder's messy. Oh, fudge. And on Glam Dunk, I tell you about the biggest, most memorable moments that sports history has to offer while I do my moment. Oh, bye-bye.